Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Line episode 3. I'm joined here along with
Joe.
Isaiah.
and let's just start off by talking about the Niner game. We're recording this Monday night. What a game. Niners defense looked great. Purdy looked great. Jordan Mason looked great. What are your guys' thoughts on that game?
Well, I think that I'm surrounded by two Niners fans right now, so I think we're going to be hearing a lot about the Niners in today. But I mean, obviously, Jordan Mason, big talkers tonight. 28 for 147, going to be a hot waiver wire pickup this week. Just as a handcuff for CMC. Obviously, when CMC comes back, he's going to get everything. But overall, Niners did what they do. Debo got rushes, targets, everything. Ayuk looked good. Kittle didn't do all that much, but he'll be good in the future. So yeah, good game overall.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good game. I think it's more Jordan Mason going off. I think kind of proved, especially how many carries he got, kind of proved that he could be a good back, especially in this offense. Like Kyle Shanahan trusts him. So I feel like he can play not split carries, but get a big role, especially when CMC comes back from his injury. That currently, they knew Friday that they were going to be that he was going to already miss the game, and they didn't say nothing until today. So I feel like they trust Jordan Madison enough, especially to get 28 carries. Like that's a decent amount of carries for I think his first start. So I think Kyle Shanahan will trust him, and I feel like again we don't know much about Christian McCaffrey's injury. That Jordan Mason could be a pretty good. He's a good pickup this week, I think, and I think it could be a pretty good play every week. I think him and McCaffrey he might start helping McCaffrey more get more rest instead of just wearing him out like they did last year.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get into some waiver wire pickups later in the episode, but today we're going to start off talking about the injury report, and then we're getting into some fantasy boom players week 1, fantasy bust players, and then we're going to talk about some waivers. So starting off, talk about McCaffrey, just the calf injury, just the big news that Jordan Mason knew since Friday that he was going to start. That's just breaks fantasy because, he's the first overall pick in pretty much everyone's league. That's just upsetting, especially if you're only needed 5-10 points. McCaffrey's getting that.
Mhm.
So, if you have McCaffrey, that sucks. There's nothing you can do, though, because he was supposed to play the whole week. Thank God I didn't have McCaffrey in any of my leagues. I totally would have took him, but I just didn't have those picks. But, yeah, and then, another huge one, Puka Nacua hurt his knee on a slant route, non-contact, the start of the second quarter. And he was just placed on IR today, which sucks because he's on my fantasy team. Yeah, what do you guys think about Puka and his injury?
Yeah, this one really does suck. He got placed on IR today, so he's going to be out minimum of 4 weeks. This is a thing that he was dealing with all offseason, as we know, the bursa sac injury. And I think that the team is going to need to see him fully healthy before they're going to let him come back. So I think 4 weeks is going to be that's the minimum. But I'm a little bit worried about this just because they're going to be more cautious instead of rushing him back because obviously he was there, but he got hurt immediately. So I think they're going to be a little bit more cautious going forward. But this just means Cooper Kupp, Triple Crown MVP, get ready because if you have Cooper Kupp, you're going to win your league. So.
Yeah, Puka. We knew about Puka's injury, months ago. That's why he started falling down draft boards is because of not months ago, but he started falling down draft boards because of his knee injury. And, everyone thought it was all good reports that he'll be all good. Knees are something you really don't play with. Uh, knees are pretty important, especially if you're playing wide receiver. And him, hurting it probably the first game, he wasn't ready to be out there week 1 most likely. He kind of rushed himself back to play week 1. It's week 1. Who doesn't want to play week 1? But I think it's just unfortunate that he re-injured himself. I don't even think I think it's a different. It's the same knee, just a different. He just hurt his knee. I think it's a bursa sac again. So it just sucks.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is, it was just it sucks that it was a non-contact injury. I think that's huge. That's a big reason he's on IR. Just naturally happened. And then also I think a big takeaway. Cooper Kupp just fed with targets. I don't even know how much targets he had, but it seemed like he had 60% target share of that offense.
He had 20. He had 21 targets.
He's open. I mean, he made that great sideline catch. I mean, Cooper Cup's probably, as of right now, the pick of the year in the 4th round. Just the volume he's going to get, that's an every week must start. I mean,
Do you think Kyron starts getting more targets now?
Yeah,
Because there's really no wide
Kyron's
receiver
gonna get
2 on
involved.
that team at this point.
I think
Like
Kyron's gonna be a lot
there's a
involved.
Tyler Johnson, and they have the Winnington. I believe is his name, Jordan Winnington, who was their 5th round pick, I believe. And yeah, I think they said like Tutu Atwell. But do you think Kyron most likely is going to start catching a lot more balls?
Yeah, I think after week 1, like my mindset's changed on Kyron. Just it's not a big deal that he's a kick return, punt return, wherever he is. I mean, he got a touchdown. He didn't. I mean, what do you have, like 14 fantasy points? But I mean, I think Puka Nacua is going to be huge. I mean, Kyron's probably going to be catching the ball more, probably getting more volume because him and the offense will be run through him and Cup. I mean, they also have the tight end Parkinson, which we'll talk about a little later. But another huge injury for Packers fans. I mean, Jordan Love, he was dealing with a knee injury with 5 seconds left in the game. That just sucks. What are you guys' thoughts on Jordan Love's injury?
Yeah, so the reports are actually saying that he's not 100% ruled out for week 2. I think he's not going to play in week 2, but just that alone is positive, knowing that he's not going to be placed on IR. I mean, if you saw that play, it looked bad. Like I was like, oh, there goes the Packers season. Like Jordan Love out for the year, ACL gone. But it's actually really positive. These reports are coming in. He's not going to be on IR. He could play week 2. I don't see that happening. I see him missing 2 to 3 weeks, probably maximum of like 5 to 6 on the crazy end. But I think that for the Packers as a whole, Jaden Reed balled out. But going forward, if Jordan Love's not the starting quarterback, I don't see Jaden Reed doing what he did today or doing what he did on Friday night. So yeah, I think that the Packers stock is down until Jordan Love comes back, and then we'll have to see that he's healthy, and then they'll be right back to where they were.
Yeah, I think it really hurts the offense. They looked really good. The offense looked really good Friday night. They're moving the ball down the field. Jaden Reed was going off. And it just, with Jordan Love getting hurt, it kind of just sucks everything out of what just happens in that game. Like, there's no more value in Jaden Reed. Jordan Love, he's dealing with a knee. Again, knee's something you really don't want to deal with, especially kind of if you're a quarterback, kind of hinders your mobility. So when he comes back, we don't even know how he's going to look. If he's going to look like how he did week 1, at least. It might take him a little longer than just, a couple of weeks to actually get back to how he normally was. It just sucks that, 5 seconds left in the game and you just hurt your knee. So
Yeah. So what are you guys doing with Josh Jacobs and I mean Jaden Reed, the 2 big names for the Packers? Are we looking to buy them? Are we looking to sell them? Are we just leaving them on our benches? What are you guys doing with them?
I don't hate the buy. I think that with Malik Willis starting for the Packers, this offense is not going to score as many touchdowns, but this doesn't mean Jacobs isn't going to get everything. He had some pop plays in this game, and he looked solid. Like he looked like Josh Jacobs. And when it comes to Jaden Reed, I think Jaden Reed is not going to be the same production. He's not going to be getting the 70-yard touchdown down the field because, I mean, Malik Willis is just not that guy. But I don't hate buying them here. I don't hate if you believe that Jordan Love will be back in 2 to 3 weeks. I think this is a smash spot to buy low on Jaden Reed or Josh Jacobs right now.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Josh Jacobs could be good, but I think the offense right now is probably going to be focused through him a lot more, and the defenses know that. So the defense are probably going to hone in more on Josh Jacobs. So I don't know if really Josh Jacobs is really necessarily like a buy for me because he's just I don't know. I think he had a good game. I think the offense is going to be run through him, so he could get more touches, but I don't know. It's not really a buy for me. Jaden Reed, he could be more of a buy, but I'll still be worried about Jordan Love's injury and see how he plays coming back. Like that's the only thing is like I know it's just a knee injury, but I don't know. I think it's just I wouldn't buy I think any of them right now. I think I'll just probably wait until see until what happens later on.
Yeah, I think the big loss to Jane Reed. I just think Jane Reed's the most talented receiver on that Packers core, and Malik Willis is not a passing quarterback. He's just not. He just does not get the ball there. I think what they're gonna do is just try to run the ball with Jacobs, and he's just gonna be an inefficient runner. Um, but yeah, big toll in the passing games. I think I would maybe buy high on Jaden Reed just based off talent alone. I mean, I don't know how much Malik Willis is gonna do, but yeah, that's probably what I would do. What do you guys know about the Njoku injury, David Njoku?
Yeah, so he's week to week with an ankle injury. My guess is he's going to sit out this week, week 2. He had 4 targets, 4 receptions for 44 yards. Nothing crazy. I'm pretty sure he got into the end zone as well. But I think that overall, he'll be back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's an ankle injury. I think we have to wait to see. I don't know if it's a high ankle injury. If it is a high ankle injury, I'd be a little bit more worried. There hasn't been any reports whether or not it is a high ankle injury. So we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to see what happens there, and we'll keep you guys updated as this reports come out.
Yeah.
No, speaking of tight ends, another tight end also got hurt. Jake Ferguson, he got hurt in the game, open field tackle. I know his thing is an MCL injury. I believe he sprained it, and I think he's week to week. There's not very much to say about Jake Ferguson's injury. He's just week to week right now. I think more information will probably come out later in the week whether or not he's going to play or not. I could see him probably missing this week. They're playing. I forgot who they're playing. They're playing the Saints. So I mean, I don't know. I don't see them really pushing them out here at least 1 week. Probably give him 1 week of rest, but he might be out there at the end of this week.
Yeah, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on 4-year, $240 million by Dak? I mean, he went out there, didn't really have to do much against the Browns. The Browns are like crap. I mean, he had 9 targets. I mean, we'll talk about that a little later, but he had 9 targets. But the Browns just didn't look good. So I mean, the Cowboys, Dak didn't have to do anything, just hand it off to Zeke. CeeDee Lamb didn't really get much involved. What do you guys think on Dak and the Cowboys?
If you were watching that game, the Cowboys came out hot. They were slinging the ball. It was like, all right, here's a Dak and CD game. It's going to be a 40-point performance by Dak. But then the Browns just couldn't keep up. Deshaun Watson just looked awful, man. He looked like he didn't know what football was. The 1,500-yard Cooper take is looking real nice right now. But I think that the Browns defense is still really good. And obviously the Cowboys defense, if you had them in fantasy, they probably won you the week as well. They had a couple touchdowns. And yeah, I just think that the Cowboys are going to come back and just be great for fantasy. This is like fantasy gold if you have a Cowboys player, as in Dak or CD. And I think that obviously Dak signed his contract. So in Dynasty, like if you have Dak or CD, you're looking real nice right now as well. So yeah, just overall, the Browns couldn't keep up, and fantasy points were not scored because of that.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys. They're the Cowboys. They're always going to have a good offense. They're always going to sling the rock. There's nothing much to say. It's just week 1. That's one thing. They played the Browns also. Browns again, pretty phenomenal defense. I know CeeDee Lamb and Dak started off hot, but they quickly died out. And they also got the lead pretty quickly into the game, thanks to their defense and Deshaun Watson playing horrendously. I think it's just week 1, so I think they're going to continue building off the offense, especially getting CeeDee Lamb. I believe he was on a snap count or limited snaps. I don't really know the snap count while he was playing the game, but I know like he hasn't been practicing for the last couple of weeks. So I think the Cowboys are going to start probably getting rolling pretty soon.
Yeah. And then moving on to, T. Higgins his hamstring. He was ruled out like Thursday before the game. Any updates on that?
Not much. I
Yeah.
heard. I think it was not Rappaport. Adam Schefter talked about that. He could see T. Higgins missing this next week's game too against the Chiefs, which it's a pretty big piece missing from the Bengals offense. I know he said that today. Again, we're 6 days out from actual game day, so we'll see what happens with T. Higgins and see if they start ramping him up in practice. But I heard that report that he could be missing today's game.
Yeah,
Or this week's game.
I just think that this is just like what T. Higgins has become at this point, just injury after injury. In order for me to actually start T. Higgins, because there's times where he'll be healthy and he'll play 3 snaps. We saw that last year. I think in order for me to actually start T. Higgins, I need to see him on the field actually playing.
Yeah, and I think T. Higgins being out does take a big toll on the Bengals offense. I mean, I get every quarterback in the league pretty much played bad. No one really had any. I think only 2 quarterbacks had over 300 passing yards. I don't recall them right now, but that's just crazy. And there was only 33 passing touchdowns scored week 1, which is lower than years before. Because last year was
Today,
37.
there was 1, 2, 1. The 34. Aaron Rodgers threw one, right? No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No one threw a passing touchdown in tonight's game.
No, Rodgers threw 2.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Or 1. Rodgers threw 1.
And then
But,
Tyrod threw one. So, yeah, there's 35 to that
just
count.
Not a productive offensive week pretty much in any week unless you had a running quarterback, and we'll get into that in a sec. But, yeah, back to I think Higgins just takes a big toll on the Bengals because, I mean, the Bengals look like crap week 1. I mean, I get Chase. Chase played 43 of 51 snaps, though, so it's not really like he was on a huge snap count. But Joe Burrow just didn't get anything done. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson looked great. The Patriots came out there and just won the game. Not too much about that, though. Bengals just didn't look too good. Probably lost a lot of people their Survivor picks for the week if you took them in Survivor. But, all right, switching topics. Time to get into some my fantasy boom players of the week. Some players who won your week 1. Starting off with my guy, Josh Allen. 232 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 attempts, 39 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, a fumble, 36.5 fantasy points. He was running the ball like he did not give a bleep, and you know what that word was. But he's ready to kill someone. He's ready to die, put his body on the line, jumping over. What do you guys think about Josh Allen and the Bills this week against the Cardinals?
I mean, he's Josh Allen, dude. I think that the passing production, just like across the league, obviously was awful. So I think that his yardage is going to return back to Josh Allen numbers, like 300 yards passing. So I mean, there's more opportunity for him to get more points, and even as a quarterback one on the week, I think he can get even more points. Obviously, we know that's what Josh Allen does. I mean, I saw a stat that was in his last 9 games, Josh Allen has 13 rushing touchdowns. I mean, this dude is eating up rushing touchdowns. If you have James Cook, I'm sorry, because James Cook's not going to be scoring a lot of inside the 5 touchdowns because that's Josh Allen range. So Josh Allen's that guy, fantasy stud, QB1 this year, and I think he's going to just continue to produce.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen, he's the number 1 quarterback for a reason. A lot of people take him as the number 1 quarterback for a reason. The only thing I'm worried about is just his rushing. He does not want to go down whatsoever. Like, he will fight for the extra yards. Like, for the one of the touchdowns, he literally hurdled a defender and got popped, putting the ball over the end zone. So, like, that's one thing I'd be concerned about Josh Allen is just him just basically just getting his body just beat up. I know it's just week 1, but over the season, it's going to just be a toll on his body. But I think once they get the passing game going, he'll start running the ball. He'll start running the ball less than what he has. I mean, he only had 9 attempts. So I mean, that's not really a lot. But I think once he get the passing game going, he'll stop running the ball less. I mean.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen is just a clear goal line back at this point for the Bills. Just no passing chemistry really there so far. Are you guys worried about Kincaid, or what are we thinking about Kincaid?
No, I'm not worried about Kincaid. Every single tight end did not produce this week. There's not a single tight end because unless you started Isaiah Likely or Foster Moreau, your tight end did not produce. So all the top 12 drafted tight ends, not a single one got double-digit points except for Kyle Pitts. He's the only one who got double-digit points.
10 points.
So just across the board, tight ends are going to bounce back, and Kincaid's still a top 5 tight end going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this week is just completely like for fantasy. I felt like all the offenses pretty slow, not a lot of passing yards whatsoever, and only 35 passing touchdowns. And when every team's playing, that's pretty low. So I feel like it was just the vibe of the Sunday was just ignore the tight ends and don't pass for any yards whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I feel like the whole I think the offenses will pick up. I think all the tight ends are key pieces of their offense. If you go down, at least all the top 12 tight ends, all the top 5 tight ends are major pieces of their offense. I feel like Kincaid's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it's a big toll of just starters not playing in the preseason together. Just now what it is. They used to, but not anymore. Another one of my guys, Anthony Richardson, 9 of 19, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 6 rushes, 56 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown, 31 fantasy points. He can launch the ball. That's what I got out of the game. He's just throwing missiles off one foot, off his back foot. What do you guys think about Anthony Richardson?
This arm strength was showing in this game. I mean, I know everyone saw the play where he stumbled off his back foot, chucked it 60 yards in the air to Alec Pierce for a touchdown. Nine completions for 200 yards is just absurd. I don't think he can keep that production up. But I mean, yeah, he's similar to Josh Allen. I think that he's going to be stealing JT's goal line work. I still think JT has that work, but it just sucks to see if you're a JT owner. But Richardson's going to be good this year. I just think, he was pretty inaccurate in this game, obviously completing less passes than he didn't complete. But overall, he's just going to be fantasy gold because he runs the ball a lot. So,
yeah, his passing volume. 9 completions that's not really what you want to see. He had 2 deep bombs to Alex Pierce. It's like that's probably not going to happen every week. I think he does have the rushing upside. He also missed a touchdown to Adrian Mitchell. He missed another deep bomb to Adrian Mitchell. So if he connects those two, I think he even has a better week. So I feel like even though he only had 9 completions, there's still more room. There's more room to grow from 9 completions. Like if he had more completions, of course he would have done way better. But he missed 2 big bombs to Adrian Mitchell, and he could have had even a better week. It's just you want to see him be more accurate with the football would be my concern. Is like him having 9 completions for 200 yards. That's not too consistent whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like their offense is just have some fast dudes on the outside, just have them run streaks and then just launch it. But is Josh Allen or Anthony Richardson, are we still starting him every week?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You drafted him to be that every week starter, and he proved it in this game. I would, if you're versing Anthony Richardson and he starts completing these passes, that's gonna be scary to go against because he could have had, like Isaiah said, a huge game today or yesterday.
Yeah, you're starting him. There's no doubt about it.
All right, the next quarterback we're moving into a rookie, Jaden Daniels from the Commanders, 184 pass, 16 rush, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What are you guys' takeaway from Jaden Daniels?
I'm really upset that I did not get as much Jaden Daniels as I wanted. I was really excited to draft Jaden Daniels this year. Unfortunately, I don't think I have him in a single league. But this is what we were expecting from Jaden Daniels. The rushing is just going to be there for him. He's going to be that rushing quarterback. Obviously, the passing, not really there all that much. Terry McLaurin didn't do much. But 2 rushing touchdowns is what you like to see from Jaden Daniels. Moving forward, I can see him as a streamer. And if I want to see what he does as a passer and if he can, develop into one of these elite players in the league. But for right now, if you need a quarterback, I'm so fine throwing Jaden Daniels in my starting lineup.
Yeah, that's what Jordan Daniels. He has that rushing upside, and that was the full display on Sunday. Like 88 rushing yards. Like that was his go-to. Was him running the ball when he had nothing open. Was just him running it. In college, is the same thing. So I feel like he's a good start every week.
Yeah, I think a big takeaway for me on this is just, he's just going to run the ball. I mean, he did have he had 184 pass, but Terry McLaurin's my big takeaway from this. I mean, he was not involved. He had, I think, 3 fantasy points. A little upsetting. I like McLaurin. I think he's another huge underrated player in my opinion at receiver position. Just doesn't have the quarterback to get him over that hump. All right. My last boom player, Baker Mayfield, put up 289 pass, 4 touchdowns, 3 rush attempts, 21 yards, 40 points. He looked good, but that's what you're supposed to do against the Washington secondary, in my opinion. If he didn't do that, I'd be a little concerned. The Bucs just had everything flowing. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns. Godwin had 8 targets, 8 receptions, like 106 yards, I think. They just look good. I mean, but the Commanders do have an awful secondary. What are you guys' takeaways from Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, the Commanders' defense is arguably the worst defense in the entire NFL. And obviously, Mike Evans is showing why he's going to be a Hall of Famer in this league, going 2 touchdowns, 60 yards, just doing what Mike Evans does. Baker Mayfield he was relevant in games last year as a fantasy streamer, and I think that's all he is. I don't think he's ever going to be more than just depending on who he's playing. If he's playing Washington, throw him in your lineup. But yeah, like I said, Baker Mayfield's going to be a streamer, nothing crazy. And yeah, I don't have much more to say about that.
Yeah, I'm with Joe. Like probably against the Lions, like next week when he plays the Lions, I think that could be a game where like if you need a starting QB, good start. Like that's going to be a high scoring game, I believe. So I think it's just you got to pick and choose when you want to play Baker Mayfield. He does have. It looks like they started getting Chris Godwin more involved like last season. I mean, he was still involved last season, but this season, out the gate, he targeted Chris Godwin a lot, and Mike Evans. Mike Evans does Mike Evans things, so he has really good weapons around him. I think right now he's a streamer, but if he continues to look this good, not like 4 touchdowns, like that's hard to do every game. But if he throws 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, like every game, something around there, he can be a starting QB for you if you need to.
Yeah, I agree. I think Baker's a great pickup. I mean, I think Baker is going to be matchup dependent. I think this upcoming week is against the Lions. I think he's a great start. I mean, Jalen Hurts just threw for 287. Actually, Jalen Hurts did not play him. Who played the Lions?
He did not play
Stafford threw for over 300. I think Baker's a great start this week. All right, moving on to Isaiah's boom players.
So we have the RBs. We're going to start off with Saquon Barkley Friday night. Him coming to this offense, nobody really knew what to expect, but this was quite a performance for somebody's first game starting for a new team. Saquon Barkley had 33 fantasy points, 24 attempts, 109 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had 2 receptions for 23 yards and another touchdown. He looked like Christian McCaffrey last season when he joined the Niners after the first offseason. He looked really good coming into Friday's game. He didn't really get enough targets. Like he only had 2 targets, but even then he got a touchdown on one of those targets, and he ran the ball really well, and looked like he performed. He did what he was supposed to do. What do you guys think about Saquon Barkley?
I love him. I think I was not in a position in any of my drafts to get Saquon Barkley. I was super high on him. I just think the Giants offense sucks. Giants offensive line sucked. They ruined. I mean, people are saying they ruined Saquon's first 4 years. I don't know. I think around 4 years. Just he had nowhere to go. But I mean, looking on this Eagles top rated offensive line, it just shows what he can do. Like I feel like maybe not 3 touchdowns a week because they're going to spread the ball. There was a
Yeah.
stat that they ran 76 offensive plays, and that's just unrealistic. Just to give you like a count, the highest offense that on average the highest offensive plays ran was around 65 to 67. So I see around maybe 10 less offensive plays, 10 to 15 less offensive plays for the Eagles. That's just 76 is just unrealistic. But I think Saquon's amazing. I think he's a top 5 running back for fantasy. I mean, obviously right now he's RB1, but yeah, I love Saquon.
Yeah, I couldn't agree any more. He's looking like Isaiah was saying, the Christian McCaffrey switch over to the Niners. This is an equivalent. And obviously, we saw Saquon Barkley his rookie year be the RB1 overall. And then he obviously dealt with injuries, came back, was solid. The last 2 years has been solid. I think Saquon could contend for that RB1 spot this year on this Eagles team. He's going to be getting a lot of touchdowns this year. The goal line, I will be a little bit worried about, like on the 1 yard with the push. But other than that, Saquon Barkley is going to be a league winner this year.
Yes, I think I don't think 3 touchdowns is going to be consistent for Saquon Barkley. But I do, Christian McCaffrey for Saquon Barkley, but Saquon Barkley did have a good first game. So next boom player is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon joined the Texans this offseason via trade, and we always thought this offense was a very pass-heavy offense, but clearly we were wrong, and they were just wanting that um, that workhorse back. Joe Mixon had 30 attempts in his very first game for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a total of 26.8 fantasy points. Pretty impressive, especially everyone thought this offense was going to be very pass heavy. Like they have CJ Stroud, they have awesome weapons around CJ Stroud, but 30 passing attempts from Joe Mixon, who just keeps doing it. Just he always gets the volume, and somehow he just keeps doing it. And I think this game was pretty impressive by Joe Mixon. What do you guys think about Joe Mixon?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your take on he keeps doing it. Last year, he was the RB6. And this man is just consistent. He's a RB, just consistency across the board. He's going to be, 31 attempts. Like, come on, man. That is ridiculous. I will be a little bit worried about, if he's getting this kind of workload, his body's going to take a toll, but I don't see him getting 31 attempts a game. I can see him easy lock for 20 attempts per game. And he's going to produce with that. This offense is explosive. This offense is going to score touchdowns. And I can easily see Joe Mixon finishing inside the top 12 RBs with, high-end RB1 upside, as we saw this week.
Yeah, I think it was a huge shock to me, honestly. I was not expecting Joe Mixon to get this amount of volume going into week 1. I mean, hearing the offseason reports about, maybe Dameon Pierce playing a little bit. But, Joe Mixon he was a workhorse. If you draft him, you're happy, like real happy. That was insane, his volume, especially on this high explosive offense. I think he's an every week must start going forward, obviously. But, yeah, I think he's a great play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think the 30 attempts, that's definitely going to come down for sure. Yeah, 30 attempts a game. 30 attempts for one game is a lot. Jordan Mason just had 28. That's a lot of attempts for running back. It's not, these guys aren't built like Derrick Henry was when he was in his prime. The next running back is Alvin Kamara. I know he played the Panthers. The Panthers kind of suck. They do suck. They don't kind of suck. They're one of, if not the worst teams in the league, just straight up. But this run script for Alvin Kamara, this game script for Alvin Kamara was pretty good. Again, Panthers suck. Saints took this game over pretty quickly. But Alvin Kamara did run the ball pretty well. He had 15 attempts for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. He also had 5 catches for 27 yards, which is all right, for a total of 22 fantasy points. It's a decent outing for Alvin Kamara. I think the one thing that kind of surprised me was his yards per carry. Again, he's playing the Carolina Panthers, so like I don't expect him to stay at 5.5 yards per carry, but he did it this last game, and that was my concern about his rushing upside. I know he's kind of going down slowly in rushing, but I think he kind of showed us that he still kind of has it. What do you guys think about Alvin Kamara?
I mean, yeah, he rushed for 5.5 a carry in this game, that's great numbers. I mean, 5.5 carry is elite. And I think that his reception, Derek Carr's that check down master. He loves to check the ball down to Alvin Kamara. And I think that in more like when they're losing games and when they're not beating the Panthers 47-10, I think that Kamara is going to even get even more receptions in this backfield. He played 52% of the snaps. That's standard for Alvin Kamara his whole career. He's never going to be that workhorse guy getting 70% of the snaps. So yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be relatively similar to what he did last year. PPR machine. He has the goal line work as well. We saw Jamal Williams. We saw everyone score in this offense. So I like Alvin Kamara. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a mid RB2. I mean, if you're watching Red Zone, you saw the first quarter of the game, and then you can see the game for the rest of the half because the Panthers basically just suck. But yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting too much from Kamara. I mean, he had a good 22-point week, solid, especially in PPR formats. His reception upside is going to be real big. But yeah, I think he's a mid-end RB2 every week.
Yeah, I think Alvin Kamara, solid outing. Next running back is Devon Achane. I know he said it out loud. I don't know how people say it.
I think
But
it's
Devon Achane.
Yeah, I think it's
Achane. Whatever it is, he balled out. As we saw from Red Zone, he had a majority of the carries on. He had 10 carries. Mostert and Wilson both had 5, so he had half the carries, which is pretty good. He didn't run the best. He only had 24 yards. But where his points came from is his 7 receptions for 76 yards. They were really trying to get him the ball out in space. Like they really just want him to go when he's in space because he has that burner speed on him. So that's one thing I noticed that 23 fantasy points, burner speed. He also had a touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown. I believe Devon Achane. I was extremely high on Devon Achane this year. I think that if he can stay healthy, he can be a number 1 RB this season. And this kind of proved it with 10 attempts, while Mostert and Wilson both had 5, and Achane also got the passing work. So what do you guys think about Achane?
I think that heading into this year, there were 2 main concerns about Devon Achane, and that was goal line work and receiving work. And he answered both those questions in this week alone. Like they were in the goal line and he was there. He was their goal line back. They didn't pull Achane out to put Mostert in like they did a lot last year. Obviously Mostert scored 21 touchdowns last year. Absurd. So I think that obviously we saw the Achane get the goal line work and we saw Achane get the receiving work, which is exactly what we wanted to see from him. Those are the 2 big questions, and them being answered in week 1 is kind of scary as someone who doesn't own any Devon Achane, because this man he has the potential to break fantasy like we've never seen before. So yeah, really high on Achane.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he can easily hit he doesn't really have a ceiling. I mean, if you just look at the rush attempts, he only had 10 rushes for 24 yards. Just showing that they're not going to be able to run the ball. The Dolphins aren't going to be able to run the ball. That offensive line is not good. I know they lost some pieces, but just his role in the receiving work, that was just insane. I mean, 6 receptions or 7 receptions. He was lining up at slot receiver. I think that's huge for PPR formats. Just about how he's going to get involved in everything. I think he's a league winner. It looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think Devon Achane clearly is. He could be, if he stays healthy this entire season, he is a for sure league winner, especially in this fast-paced offense. Um,
All right. All right. Moving on to my boom players of the week. I'm gonna cover a little bit of receivers. And starting off with none other than Cooper Cup. I mean, this is gonna be short and simple. Cooper Cup, he is back. He is reports in the offseason were saying that Cooper Cup is the guy in this offense. And even when Puka was on the field, we saw that. We saw Cooper Cup getting first looks from Matthew Stafford. The first like 3 plays of the game, I'm pretty sure passes went to Cooper Cup. 21 targets, that's crazy. That's not gonna I mean, maybe if Puka stays out, that might happen again, but Cooper Cup, almost 100% of the plays was in motion. And that is, you love to see that because then he's getting looks that he wants. So yeah, just keep it short and simple. Cooper Cup, he's back. He's ready to go. Any thoughts, guys?
See, I believe Cooper Cup is definitely a league winner if he can stay healthy the entire offseason or entire season, not offseason. The entire season, he's gonna put up points this season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we already talked about it earlier. Don't gotta say too much. He could be the receiver one this year, just with depending on Nakua's injury and everything. But yeah, just no limit for Cooper Cup. Back to I forgot what year he got the Triple Crown, but another Triple Crown season possibly. But yeah.
Yeah, I think a really interesting player this week was Jameson Williams. Obviously the wide receiver 2 for the Detroit Lions. He came out and he had 9 targets. He had 5 receptions, 121 receiving yards, and obviously that long touchdown. I drafted Jameson Williams in a couple leagues this year just because the reports out of camp were good. Jameson Williams looks great. He's going to be that wide receiver 2 for us this year. Obviously, this offense is stacked across the board. Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to go around in this offense, but Jameson Williams, just his ability to stretch the field and be that like deep post guy for Jared Goff is really promising. I loved what I saw today. I don't think James Williams is going to out-target Amon-Ra St. Brown maybe ever again. But just in general, I loved what I saw, and I think that he could potentially have high upside this year as a wide receiver. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the Rams' goal was literally just shut down Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like anybody else can kill us, can burn us, just not let St. Brown and Laporta get going in this offense. So I feel like that's why JMO had a really big week, and he performed when they needed him most, when they needed people to get open because St. Brown and Laporta were just getting locked up. James Williams performed when he had the opportunities, and I feel like he is going to gain more trust. I think he has gained a lot of trust in this offense. So I don't see him doing it, like how he did this week, but I do. He did have a really good week.
Yeah, I think it was big surprise, just that Lions offense, just how they rotated the backfield. It was a little weird with Gibbs and Montgomery. They both ended up performing, but just the rotations were a little weird if you watched the game. Yeah, but Williams performed how Amon-Ra St. Brown should have performed. I think Jameson Williams is more of like a boom bust. I think that's like a flex option. I'm not starting him as a receiver 1 or receiver 2 in any of my leagues. I didn't draft a lot of him, but he looked good. If he keeps this up, he could be in for huge weeks just with the amount of passing they're going to do between him and Amon-Ra and Laporta. Those are the 3 targets. Gibbs out of the backfield, but yeah.
I will say that this is the offense. It is no more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, James Williams, and Sam Laporta and the 2 running backs. There was no one else on the field really at all. It was just those 3 when it comes to the 3 wide receiver sets. Like last year they had Josh Reynolds and he was taking a lot of reps, but this year it's just James Williams. He played 85% of the snaps. And moving forward, like Tampa Bay, going against Arizona, going against Seattle, like those are good spots in high scoring games. And I would be cool throwing James Williams in my flex moving forward in the next couple of weeks. But anyways, moving on, I'm just going to do some quick hits on some wide receivers we haven't covered so far who had big games. Obviously, Tyreek Hill doing what he does, 130 yards. We saw he got arrested for the game, but that's irrelevant.
The touchdown celebration was really relevant. I think it's the hardest photo of the year. I don't think you get much harder than that. If you don't know what to talk about, look it up on anywhere social media platform. It's amazing, honestly. But all right, go on.
Anyways, yeah, AJ Brown had a great game, had that big touchdown from Jalen Hurts. We talked about Chris Godwin already. Diggs, I will say a little bit about Diggs. I think Diggs is a sell high. He had 2 touchdowns in this game, and I just don't see that like returning value in the long end. He only had 6 targets. All the receivers on this team ran the exact same amount of routes, which I mean is promising. Like that, you expect that. But just moving forward, I just don't. Nico is that dude. And Tank Dell, I love Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell is shifty. He's great. So I think if you can capitalize and sell Diggs right now, that would be a great spot to sell Diggs at. What do you guys think about selling Stephon Diggs?
I mean,
I'm with it.
Yeah, I think it's a good sell.
Stephon Diggs.
I think Nico's in a tier of his own. He showed that he's going to be the dominant receiver one in that offense. But I feel like any given week, like Tank Dell could have been the person with six catches, 2 touchdowns, and Diggs could have had 3 receptions for like 30 yards. Like they can switch it around. But yeah, I would be trying to maximize value out of Diggs. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think Dell definitely could have had a better week. Like Dell had 7 targets and only 3 receptions. So like he had one more target than Stephon Diggs. So I mean, say Dell definitely could have performed a lot better than what he did this week.
Yeah. And then just running down a couple more. Obviously, Alex Pierce had the big game. But yeah, Nico Collins balled out. And then if we look, I just want to hit a quick shout out for the kickers out there. I feel like this week kickers were just balling out this week. This was absurd, man. Chris Boswell knocking down 6 field goals. Like what? Come on, man. Scoring like 26 fantasy points. Jake Moody winning people weeks. Like people were down 20 points and they had Jake Moody and they won their week, man. That's some cool stuff right there for the kickers.
Kickers outperform tight ends. Like if you would put any tight end, kickers outscored them all. So like that's insane.
I think this is the best like kicker week I have watched in the NFL. I mean, I've been watching it for at least 5-6 years.
Yeah, like ever.
Yeah,
multiple kickers putting up 20 plus, like Fairbairn, Boswell, Groupie on the Saints.
Aubrey.
I mean, shout out Moody if he won your week. God, that was amazing. I mean, go Niners, but like.
Yeah, man. Hey, shout out all the kickers out there, man. You guys were going crazy today.
They delivered.
Yeah, they delivered, man. They delivered. They won you guys that week. But yeah, anyways, I think we're going to be now moving into some bus players. I think we're going to do this pretty quickly. I know we talked about how throughout the league scoring was just down. Offense was down. I think I'm taking this as a preseason week 4. I think that this is just a time for players to come in and just get ready to go. Offense is going to be ramping up next week. So a couple bus players that I had, just all the tight ends. Like I mentioned before, no one did good. I brought up the only top 12 tight end who actually did good was Kyle Pitts. And that wasn't even good. He had like 10 points. So tight ends are going to bounce back. Calvin Ridley, I was a little bit concerned with what I saw with Calvin Ridley. I'm not even going to lie. D-Hop only played 24% of the snaps, and Calvin Ridley didn't do anything. He had like 5 targets for 50 yards. I'm still confident. I still standing for my guy. I've been a Calvin Ridley stand all offseason, and I will be confident in Calvin Ridley. But a little concerned, but we're gonna be good. And last thing you mentioned a little bit earlier, Richardson wasn't looking his way. He had 8 targets, but overall, I think he's gonna bounce back to be that top 15, top 24 receiver. So, any thoughts on those guys?
Tight ends, straight poop. Straight all of them. I mean, it was so bad. I think, yeah, it was just tight ends were bad. Every offenses were bad. I feel like it all plays together.
I think the Titans look bad. I think the one good takeaway is Tony Pollard. He dominated 16 carries. The one positive on the Titans offense, I'm concerned if I'm Titans. I mean, Will Levis did not look good. I mean, Ridley did so-so. D-Hop didn't even play. But yeah, the one positive takeaway, Tony Pollard, he could dominate that backfield. He dominated all those touches, got some receiving work. The one positive.
I will just mention one quick thing. I want to do this little segment called Hot Take Update. And I just wanted to ask you guys, how are you guys' hot takes doing? So
Well, I
obviously
mean,
we
we're
had
gonna get
Amari
in.
Cooper, Mr.
All right,
1500.
well, let's get into my fantasy. Some bust players I have. I mean, we're already on the
Oh,
topic.
he doesn't even want to talk about it.
We're gonna start with Amari Cooper. We're gonna start with Amari Cooper here. 2 receptions, 16 yards, 3.6 fantasy points. But let's look at the positive side here. Amari Cooper was on for 95% of the snaps, and he had 9 targets. He led the team in targets. Deshaun Watson just did not deliver. I still think Cooper's gonna be good. The Cowboys defense looked amazing. Parsons killed it, but I still believe Watson's to get his groove. I mean, I got Amari Cooper on my fantasy team, so I gotta believe kind of. But 9 targets, and only 2 receptions. If you were watching that game and you saw him drop a wide open touchdown, it was like late in the fourth quarter. I almost cried. He had three points. That was an 8-point play, and cussing him out honestly. But yeah, that was sad. I mean, that could have changed his whole week. He would have been at 13 points. Just a midweek, nothing crazy. But yeah, what do you guys think about Amari Cooper?
I mean, 9 targets, that's good. You want to see that from Amari Cooper. Only bringing down 2 is sad. I think he'll be good moving forward. That's about all I got to say.
I think the Browns offense needs to get it together. I think like Watson barely played. I think that's the biggest issue is that Watson has barely played. Like last season he played 5 games, and then he was done. And then before that he played, the last 4 or 5 games after suspension. So I feel like either Watson is gonna have it or he's not gonna have it at this point. And I think he has a couple weeks to prove whether or not he has it or not. So I don't know. I think it all depends on how Watson performs.
Yeah, and then my next fantasy bus player, sadly, took some crap on this one. Drake London, 2 receptions, 15 yards, 3.5 fantasy points. He had 3 targets. I mean, that's nothing crazy, but he did play 100% of the snaps. Just a little update about Kirk. Kirk Cousins, 96% of Kirk Cousins' snaps was from pistol or shotgun, and they ran the ball 91% of the time. And Kirk does really good under center, so this is what scares me a little bit, that they had a result to pistol or shotgun, with Kirk Cousins recovering from his Achilles injury. And I mean, it just seems like he's not fully recovered yet. I mean, they still have Penix on the bench. I mean, could we see him play? It just doesn't seem like Cousins is 100% healthy. He was pretty much like a cone in the pocket, and he just does not move. That's why they have him pistol or shotgun every snap. He's just not moving. He can't go under center, snap the ball, 3-step drop. Just the Falcons did not look good. Did not, besides Bijan Robinson. But besides that, did not look good. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think this Steelers defense is legit, man. I mean, they've been good for years. TJ Watt was in the backfield 24/7. He was living in Kirk Cousins' face. So that has to play with it a little bit. But yeah, Kirk Cousins is going to need time to bounce back from that Achilles. And I think that overall this offense is going to get rolling a couple weeks from now. Drake London is going to be productive. I don't know how much production he's going to be getting, but I think looking forward, things are looking good for the Falcons overall.
Yeah, I think Drake London's just a straight up not a bust, but he's just always gonna be like a mediocre. He's gonna be like a Calvin Ridley. He's gonna be Amari Cooper. He's always just gonna be 1,000 yards, 80 catches, 7 touchdowns. I don't think you can expect much more from Drake London. He's not like Justin Jefferson whatsoever. They drafted him to tempt to. They drafted him 7th pick, believing that he could be the next great wide receiver. I think he's just a decent guy. So I mean, I don't really know. He's gonna have those ups and down weeks. He's had that his entire career, those big up and down weeks. So I don't really. I think Drake London.
I think it comes down to. I
he's
think you got to
solid.
believe. I think you just got to believe. I mean, back to this point,
Believe
all
what?
offenses look
3 years of film.
Said
all
every
offenses
Drake
Three
London
years of
owner.
film.
all offenses look bad week
Yeah.
one. Kirk Cousins has
Yeah.
not had
Especially
time
the 3
to gel
3 years
with
of
this
film
offense
really
yet. He's
shows
still
you.
hurt. I think Drake London's in for another big boom.
I lean towards agreeing with Isaiah, just because Drake. I mean, dude, it's like how many times is this guy gonna get bailed out by his situation or
What did Justin
this and
Jefferson do?
this?
What did Justin Jefferson do?
He did more than Drake London.
In the first 3 weeks, he was trash, and then he exploded.
Kirk Cousins also had he had 4
I don't know.
years.
I just think that
give it time.
overall, I mean,
And you act like Kirk Cousins is a savior to that offense. Like Kirk Cousins is coming off a torn Achilles.
Basically, we're saying
Achilles. You saw it.
into episode 3, 58-minute mark after Drake London goes for 30 next week. Just saying.
That doesn't mean that he's good. Doesn't mean that he's
All
good.
right.
People have bashed Jameson Williams the last 2 years, and he has one good year, one good game.
Let's go to Joe or Isaiah's bus players.
All right, go to mine. Talked about St. Brown earlier. St. Brown, I think it was just the Rams were just shut him down. Every year's gotten better. Last season was his best season. This offseason, he got paid. Just his first game, I think it was just the Rams playing. The Rams' goal was to stop him, I believe. Like they were just, do not let St. Brown wreck this game because St. Brown is a game wrecker. What do you guys think about St. Brown?
I think you drafted yourself a lot of St. Brown. He's a game wrecker. I mean, he did just have a bad week. Assumably he'll bounce back.
Is he not a game wrecker?
I think they'll both bounce back. I also think Drake London could be a game wrecker.
I think we should just move on from Drake London, just like the Falcons will next year. St. Brown, yeah, I'm on St. Brown. He's a top 6 draft pick for a reason. He's gonna be fine.
I didn't hear Drake London was being a top 6 draft pick anyway. Drake London's straight garbage.
Wait for next year.
Next pick is next year's. He's a bozo. Chris Olave, bust. It was so bad. He had 2 targets for 2 receptions for 11 yards. Also, I feel like this game got out of hand pretty fast for the Panthers. And they were just like, at this point, let's just stop throwing the ball, the best receiver of the ball on their team. I know Rashid Shaheed caught a deep pass. I think there's 3 other touchdowns thrown, 2 of them to tight ends. I don't know. How do you guys feel about Chris Olave?
I think Rashid Shaheed looked like the best receiver on that team. I mean, I was not drafting any of Olave personally, not drafting receivers in bad options. I mean, unless you got him in like the 6th round. But someone here got him. Someone got him in the 4th round in 2 leagues. Started in both leagues. That's just I was not drafting him. But I think he just had a down week. I think it's mainly because the Panthers are absolute buns. I think he should be a target hog. Rashid Shaheed's usually only good for like one big deep play a game. But yeah, I think Chris Olave should be having around 8-9 targets a game, I would say, just because there's no one else in because they're going to be playing down a lot. I mean, this is one rare situation against the worst team in the NFL. Yeah.
I think I am a little concerned. I think if you're going to score 47 points and your number 1 receiver is going to get absolutely nothing, that has to be concerning. This last year, we saw Chris Olave be really consistent, honestly. Like as an owner of Chris Olave last year, I was looking at 15 to 18 points per game, just like every week, just like solid numbers. But I think that Derek Carr doesn't look to Chris Olave when he's going deep. It's Rashid Shaheed. Him and Rashid Shaheed have some sort of connection. I don't know what it is, but he likes Rashid Shaheed on deep ball, and we want to see that. That's what we want to see from Chris Olave as Olave managers, and I'm just a little bit concerned when it comes to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have 2 shares of Chris Olave. I do want to root for him to do good. Last season, I had him too. Like I think, again, it's just week 1. I know last year Chris Olave started off slow last year, But I think the Saints also know that Chris Olave is their best receiving option on that team besides Alvin Kamara if he was going to do little dump offs. And we have seen Derek Carr hold up people to be, wide receiver one or tight end one options. We saw it with Darren Waller. Hunter Renfrow at 1 year, at one point, he was a wide receiver two option. We saw it with Devontae Adams. Not saying Chris Olave is as good as Devontae Adams, but we do know that Derek Carr does like throwing the football, and he can produce number one wide receiver ones on his team. So I feel like, especially it's a new offense too. I think as the new Niners offensive coordinator, I feel like it's going to take time for this offense. I do see Chris Olave picking it back up, not against the Dallas Cowboys though. That's a little tough matchup, but we'll see how that goes. And then kind of my last bust is just all QBs all around. It was just a terrible week for offenses completely. I see a bounce back. Like it's again, most of the time it's their first game they've played all season. If they played a quarter in preseason or a half in preseason, like this was their first game they've played in about 6, 8 months, 9 months ish. So I think he's just getting back in the groove of things, so much new offenses and stuff like that. What do you guys think about these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's basically if you had a running quarterback, you probably did good. Any passing quarterbacks didn't really perform. I just think back to the quarterbacks I listed earlier in the video. But yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Quarterbacks, tight ends, these positions did not do a thing this week. Your kicker probably scored more than a quarterback and a tight end on your team combined. That just goes to show that I think these next couple weeks are just going to be back to normal fantasy production. I'm pretty sure the stat said that I'm not including today the average quarterback threw for 200 yards. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. These quarterbacks are going to get back and they're going to be doing good, like what they should be doing.
Yeah. Now, moving on to each of our number one waiver wire priorities for this week. I'll start off. Colby Parkinson. I'm not going to talk about Isaiah Likely. We've talked about him a lot. If he's there, obviously get him. But I'm going to talk about Colby Parkinson, the tight end for the Rams. He had 4 receptions of 5 targets, 47 yards, 8.7 fantasy points, but he played 88% of the snaps. I think mainly Colby Parkinson because Tyler Higbee is on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks. So I think Colby Parkinson could be viable just for the first 4 weeks. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, with Puka Nacua missing time, Colby Parkinson looked solid, man. He was getting that. It reminded me a lot of Dallas Goedert getting that like underneath flat routes in this Rams offense. And I mean, I like him. I like situation he's in. Matthew Stafford, Rams offense is solid. It'd be a great pickup moving forward.
Yeah, this is a streamer tight end. If you need a tight end, who else is her we're going to throw to? So I feel like it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just will say, just when it comes to waivers, don't overreact. Just a quick little tip: don't overreact to your team, and look for people who do overreact. Like if you're looking at the waivers and you see someone overreacted to dropping a certain player, just look and swoop those players up because there's going to be a lot of overreactions coming into week 2. So, but with that being said, I'm going to move over to my waiver wire pickup of the week. And it's pretty simple. It's Jordan Mason, handcuff running back for Christian McCaffrey. Niners offense is arguably the best offense in the entire NFL. We saw Jordan Mason get 147 rushing yards. So yeah, simple stuff there. I will say that a sneaky pickup that I have going back to that Rams offense is Tyler Johnson. I think he could be seeing the field more with Puka missing time. He was on the field for 65% of the snaps, and I can see him. I mean, this is 4th year. He's a little speedster. You saw that little move he made to get that 65-yard catch. He could be a sneaky pickup. Nothing crazy if you're in a deep league. Just keep an eye on Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I agree. If I have Jordan Mason. If I have Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason's my number one pickup. If you can get him, he's your number one pickup. I also like Tyler Johnson, especially with Puka being out. I think he's a great pickup.
Yeah.
Isaiah.
Yeah, I think Jordan Mason. I think I'm gonna pick him up. I have number one waiver wire in our league. I think I'm gonna pick him up. Why not? Hold one of the best offensive teams running backs on your team. And I think Jordan Mason proved himself to Kyle Shanahan today, especially like he can be that guy if he needs to be. So for mine, I just have a couple of streamers, a couple good streamers to pick up. Colts defense, if you need a defense, I think Colts defense will be really good against the Packers. They're playing what's his name? Malik Willis. Bro doesn't throw the ball. I mean, he does, but it's going. It's Malik Willis. I don't really know. I think the Colts defense did good too against Stroud. I know they still put up hella points, but I think against Malik Willis, they can definitely play a lot better. Another streamer defense is the Chargers. They did pretty good this last week against the Raiders. They had 2 fumbles and an interception. I don't know if they had any sacks, actually, but they play the Panthers this week. We are all clearly Panthers haters. Panthers straight up suck. So I would play any defense against the Panthers. Anybody who's playing against Panthers, I will pick their defense up and play them. Rightfully so, Chargers that. Chargers is another good pickup. For the quarterback option, I know Baker Mayfield might be out there. Again, we just talked about him earlier this episode. They play the Detroit Lions. That is the possibility of being a shootout. Just like this last game where, the Lions and Rams. So I think Baker Mayfield is a good pickup. I think if you need a tight end, Taysom Hill is also another good pickup. He's getting rushing work and he gets catching work and he does literally whatever the team needs him. He might get you a couple of tackles or 2 because I know they said they want to use him as middle linebacker. I know that was said during the offseason. So I feel like those are just a couple of good pickups to pick up if you need any like streamers for this week.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that moving forward, if you have a defense or if there's a defense who's playing against Carolina or who's playing against the New York Giants, pick them up because they're going to be a top 5 defense that week because we see these offenses are just abysmal. Daniel Jones and Bryce Young should not be NFL quarterbacks. These guys are like getting picked off the street. I don't even know what's happening. But yeah, I like that take with the Chargers defense this week.
Yeah, I agree with all the streamers. You guys got anything else to add?
I will say, for all my Brian Thomas stands out there, stay strong. He's going to be great this year.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for tuning into episode 3 of the Fantasy Line, and we will see you guys on Friday.
See you guys.
Have a good one.